Welcome back, everyone, to the Philosopher's Path. In this deep dive, we're going to be exploring a philosophy that might seem, well, a bit rough around the edges. Cynicism.
Yeah. And while the word cynicism today often has like a negative connotation,
Yeah.
we're going to kind of unpack its rich philosophical history
Right.
and see if it holds some surprising relevance for us in the 21st century.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because when we dig into the actual philosophy behind cynicism, we're talking about ancient Greece and challenging societal norms.
Yeah.
And this really radical idea that virtue is the only true path to happiness.
Really fascinating stuff.
It is. And to help us navigate all of these intriguing and sometimes controversial ideas, we've got a stack of sources provided by you.
Yes.
Our amazing viewers.
Our amazing viewers sending us stuff.
Articles, historical texts, even some modern interpretations of cynicism.
I love it.
So, okay, to set the stage.
Yeah, set the stage.
We're talking about ancient Greece, 4th century BCE.
Okay.
A time of great intellectual and cultural flourishing.
Flourishing. Yeah.
But also, as with any society, it's got its share of problems.
Oh, of course, right? Every society does. So, yeah, think of it like this, okay?
Yeah.
Bustling city life in Athens, great thinkers debating in the marketplace.
Yeah.
But also corruption wars and a lot of emphasis on wealth and social status.
And within that context, cynicism kind of
Emerges, yeah.
almost like a countercultural movement.
Totally.
Rejecting a lot of those things that society was telling people to strive for.
Exactly. And leading the charge was Antisthenes,
Okay.
a student of the one and only Socrates.
Whoa, a direct student of Socrates.
Yeah, talk about philosophical lineage.
That definitely piques my interest. So Antisthenes starts this whole Cynic thing.
He does.
But the name that everyone seems to know is
Diogenes.
Diogenes.
Yeah.
And he wasn't exactly your average philosopher.
To put it mildly,
Yeah.
Diogenes is almost legendary, for his eccentricities.
Yeah.
This is the guy who famously made his home in a ceramic jar.
The ceramic jar.
Right in the middle of the Athenian marketplace.
What? Living in a jar. Okay, I have to ask.
Yeah.
Was this just like some kind of weird performance art, or was there like a deeper meaning behind this?
Well, I mean, it was definitely a statement, right?
Yeah.
But more than just like shock value. Diogenes' jar kind of symbolized this complete rejection of material possessions.
Okay.
And societal expectations.
Right.
For him, true happiness didn't lie in any of those things.
So if cynics weren't chasing wealth or status, what did they actually value? What was their recipe for a good life?
At the core of cynicism was this unwavering belief that virtue was the only true good. They called it arte.
Arte.
Yeah, which goes beyond like simple kindness. It's about moral excellence, living in accordance with reason and cultivating inner strength.
So not just being nice, but really striving to be like the best version of yourself morally.
Exactly. And that pursuit of arte led to true happiness.
Okay.
Or eudaimonia.
Eudaimonia.
Right. It wasn't about like fleeting pleasures or external validation, but a deep and lasting contentment that stemmed from living a virtuous life.
Okay, and that makes sense. But how does living in accordance with nature fit into all of this?
Yeah.
Was Diogenes just hanging out in his jar?
Yeah.
Eating berries and communing with the trees?
Not quite. While they did value simplicity, living in accordance with nature, for cynics wasn't so much about like the literal environment.
Right.
It was about rejecting the artificial desires that society creates.
Yeah.
Desires they believe ultimately lead to unhappiness.
So instead of getting caught up in the constant pursuit of more stuff, more status, more approval,
yeah,
they focused on simplifying their lives.
Exactly.
And needs.
This ties into the concept of autarkia, or self-sufficiency.
Self-sufficiency.
By needing very little, cynics were free from dependence on, jobs of material possessions, the whims of others.
So Diogenes' jar wasn't just a quirky dwelling.
No.
It was a symbol of this like radical independence.
Exactly. It was a physical manifestation of their commitment to living simply and finding contentment within themselves, not in external things.
Now, this is where I think the modern understanding of cynicism gets a bit muddled.
Yeah.
Today, it often means being negative or pessimistic.
Right.
But the cynic's shamelessness wasn't just about being rude or dismissive.
Yeah, absolutely. They practiced an idea, which translates to shamelessness, but it was more about challenging social norms.
Right.
They saw as irrational or hypocritical Think of Diogenes urinating in public.
Oh, yeah.
It was a provocative act designed to expose the absurdity of certain social conventions.
So like a philosophical performance art piece.
You could say that. It was about provoking thought and questioning why people conform to behaviors without critical thinking.
Right.
Kind of like holding up a mirror to society and saying,
Mhm.
hey, is this really how we want to live?
And they weren't exactly shy about speaking their minds either.
Oh, no.
Speaking truth to power, even when it's unpopular, could be seen as pretty shameless.
Very true. Parrhesia or frank speech was a core principle for them. They believed honesty was paramount and that speaking the truth, even if it ruffled feathers,
Yeah.
was a moral obligation.
Which is something that still resonates today, especially when we think about activism and fighting for what's right.
Absolutely. That courage to challenge injustice and speak truth to power is essential for progress in any society.
Yeah.
So while their methods, might have seemed shocking,
Right.
the underlying principles had a strong ethical core.
Okay, so I'm starting to see how cynicism, despite its unconventional image, had some pretty profound ideas.
Oh, yeah.
But let's be honest.
Yeah.
Living in a jar might not be for everyone. What can we in the modern world actually learn from cynicism?
Yeah.
Is there any practical wisdom we can extract from these ancient thinkers?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
And it's what we'll be exploring in the next part of our deep dive into cynicism.
I can't wait.
Stay tuned.
Okay, so we talked about all these core tenets of cynicism.
Yeah. Right.
Arte, living in accordance with nature, autarkia, and idea,
Right.
and parrhesia.
Big words, big concepts. Okay?
Yeah. Big words.
But how do they actually translate to, our modern lives?
Right.
Because, let's face it, we're not all about to trade in,
Right.
our apartments for ceramic jars.
Right. But maybe there are some, nuggets of cynic wisdom
Yeah.
that we can kind of apply to our 21st century challenges.
Right.
We live in a world that's obsessed with material possessions,
Totally.
status, and that, constant craving for external validation.
It's almost like we're living in,
Right.
the society that the cynics were warning us about.
Yeah,
Think
right.
about it, consumerism, the pressure to buy the latest gadgets, the
Yeah.
newest fashion trends.
Yeah.
I imagine Diogenes would have a lot to say about our shop till you drop culture.
He'd probably say we're slaves to our desires,
Right.
always chasing after, the next shiny object, the perfect Instagrammable life,
Yeah.
and never quite finding contentment.
Exactly. The cynics believed that these desires are often, artificial, imposed on us by society,
Yeah.
and that they ultimately lead to unhappiness
Right.
because there's always, something else to crave. There's
Yeah.
no finish line in the race for more.
So in a way, movements like minimalism
Yeah.
and simple living
Yeah.
are almost like modern-day echoes of cynicism.
I think that's a great point.
Like stripping away the excess, focusing on what you truly need.
Yeah.
It's a way of reclaiming your freedom from those manufactured desires.
I think that's a really insightful connection. The minimalist movement, with its focus on intentionality
Right.
and reducing consumption, shares a certain kinship with the cynic idea of autarkia.
Right.
It's about finding contentment and having enough,
Yeah.
rather than, always striving for more.
And it's not just about physical possessions, right?
Okay.
Think about social media.
Oh, yeah?
We're constantly curating our online image, seeking validation through, likes and comments. I wonder what Diogenes would make of our obsession with selfies and online personas.
The cynics, with their emphasis on an idea,
Right?
or shamelessness in the face of societal expectations,
Right.
would probably see right through our carefully constructed online identities.
Right. Oh, yeah.
They'd encourage us to focus on inner virtue,
Yeah.
on being authentic, rather than, chasing the fleeting approval of others.
It makes you wonder how much of our energy is spent trying to project this perfect image online,
Right.
when we could be focusing on cultivating our own character,
Yeah.
our own inner strength.
That's a powerful question to consider.
Yeah.
And it goes to the heart of the Cynic philosophy,
Right.
that true happiness and fulfillment come from within, from living in accordance with virtue, not from external validation.
What's fascinating is that this idea of living simply needing less actually has some pretty profound implications for the environment as well.
It's true. While the cynics probably didn't have saving the planet in mind,
Right.
their philosophy inadvertently aligns with the principles of sustainability.
Yeah.
Consuming less, wasting less, focusing on what's truly essential, those actions directly benefit the environment.
So maybe their like back to basics approach
Yeah.
wasn't so out there after all.
Right.
It's like they anticipated the environmental challenges that we're facing today.
In a way, yes. Their emphasis on living in accordance with nature
Right.
takes on a whole new meaning in the context of, climate change and resource depletion.
Yeah.
And it reminds us that our personal choices,
Right.
our consumption habits, has a ripple effect on the world around us.
And beyond the environmental aspect, this whole idea of focusing on inner peace rather than external things for happiness
Yeah,
is very relevant to mental health as well.
absolutely.
We're constantly bombarded with messages
Right.
telling us we need to be richer, thinner,
More successful.
more successful to be happy.
Yeah, it's exhausting, isn't it?
It is.
The cynics would probably say, reject that noise.
Yeah.
Find happiness in virtue and self-sufficiency in living authentically.
Right.
Focus on what you can control, your own thoughts, actions, and reactions, and let go of the things you can't.
It reminds me of what a lot of, therapists
Yeah.
and mindfulness coaches are saying today.
Cool.
It's about finding contentment and peace within yourself
Yeah.
rather than, constantly chasing external markers of success or happiness.
Exactly. And it speaks to the enduring power of some of these ancient philosophical ideas.
Yeah.
Even though they were developed centuries ago, they still offer valuable insights into the human condition,
Right.
into the challenges we face, and into the, timeless pursuit of happiness and meaning.
So maybe, just maybe, these cynics with their simple living and radical ideas were onto something. Maybe there's more to learn from their philosophy than just, quirky anecdotes about living in jars.
I think so. But of course, we have to acknowledge that, full-on cynic life, like Diogenes in his jar,
Right.
isn't exactly, practical or desirable for most people in the modern world.
Yeah.
And there are some valid critiques of their philosophy that we need to address.
Right. We can't just, dismiss the complexities of modern life
Right.
and retreat into a world of pure asceticism.
Right.
But perhaps there's a middle ground,
Yeah.
a way to find inspiration in their ideas
Yeah.
without taking them to extremes.
That's a great point. And it leads us perfectly into the next part of our discussion,
Okay.
where we'll explore some of the challenges and critiques of trying to apply cynicism to our modern lives.
Sounds good.
Stay with us.
So we've explored these, core principles of cynicism.
All right.
And we've even found some surprising connections to modern life.
Yeah.
But as with any philosophy, it's
Yeah.
important to kind of look at it with a critical eye. Cynicism isn't like a one-size-fits-all solution, and there are definitely some challenges to consider.
Definitely.
Because as much as I, admire their commitment to virtue and simplicity,
Yeah.
I can't help but wonder, is it really feasible to live like a cynic in today's world?
That's a great question. And it kind of gets to the heart of one of the main criticisms of cynicism, practicality. While the idea of rejecting material possessions and social norms has a certain appeal,
Right.
it's not exactly easy to pull off in a complex society like ours.
Yeah, I mean, I get the whole, living simply thing,
Right.
but I'm not sure I could function without, a phone internet access or a way to get around.
Exactly. We live in a world where certain material engagements are simply necessary for daily life.
Right.
Paying bills, participating in the economy,
Yeah.
even just connecting with loved ones
Right.
often requires some level of material involvement.
And beyond, those practical concerns, there's also the question of how far you take this rejection of social norms.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see how challenging unjust traditions is important.
Right.
But don't we also need to kind of recognize the value of community and cooperation?
That's a really important point. The cynics, with their emphasis on, individual virtue and self-sufficiency,
Right.
sometimes kind of overlooked the importance of social connections. While it's healthy to question norms,
Right.
completely withdrawing from society and rejecting all forms of social engagement can lead to isolation
Yeah.
and, even a distrust of others.
It's all about finding that balance, right?
Yeah.
Between challenging what needs to be challenged
Right.
and still recognizing the importance of human connection.
Precisely. And that's where the potential danger of cynicism turning into misanthropy kind of comes in.
Right.
While the original cynics weren't necessarily misanthropic, they didn't
Yeah.
hate humanity.
Right.
But their focus on individual virtue could, if taken to an extreme,
Yeah.
lead to like a general disdain for other people and their flaws.
It's like that saying, I love humanity. It's just people I can't stand.
Exactly.
You can see how that kind of thinking could easily creep into a philosophy that emphasizes separating yourself from the masses.
Exactly. And it's something to be mindful of when exploring cynicism. It's about finding the wisdom in their ideas. Right. Without becoming jaded or losing faith in, our fellow humans.
And we can't forget the way the word cynicism is used today.
Yeah, totally different.
It often has a negative connotation.
Yeah.
Implying, pessimism, skepticism,
yeah.
and a distrust of everyone's motives.
It's almost like the meaning has been flipped on its head.
Right.
Philosophical cynicism, as we've discussed, is about questioning societal norms, pursuing virtue, and finding happiness in simplicity.
Yeah.
It's not about being like a grumpy curmudgeon who sees the worst in everything and everyone.
Right. It's about challenging the status quo and living authentically.
Right.
But it's not about, being a negative Nancy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So maybe it's time we kind of reclaim the word cynicism and restore its original meaning. It's a philosophy that, despite its challenges, has a lot to offer.
It's about taking those, nuggets of wisdom, those insights that resonate with us, and kind of incorporating them into our own lives in a way that makes sense for the modern world.
Absolutely. It's about finding that balance between questioning norms and, participating in a meaningful way.
Right.
Between embracing simplicity and appreciating the complexities of our interconnected world.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
We've explored the origins of cynicism.
Yeah.
Delved into its core principles.
Yeah.
And even grappled with some of its challenges and criticisms.
I think it's been a fascinating journey.
It has.
And I hope our viewers have found this deep dive into cynicism as thought-provoking.
Oh, yeah.
As we have.
Absolutely. And to our amazing viewers, we would love to hear your thoughts.
Yes.
Did anything in particular resonate with you?
Yeah.
Do you think there's a place for cynicism in the 21st century?
Let us know.
Let us know in the comments below.
And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell.
Yes.
So you don't miss our future explorations into the world of philosophy.
And be sure to share this video with anyone who might be interested in challenging the status quo and exploring alternative ways of thinking.
Until next time, keep questioning.
Yes.
Keep exploring.
Keep exploring.
And keep philosophizing.